Hey everyone, this is Phil here from Northern Wild Harvest. We are out here in the center of the Yukon Territory wilderness, right near Stewart Crossing, Yukon. We're hunting and picking wild morel mushrooms. So today, our plan is to go and pick a fire up the Klondike Highway. It's a fire that we picked in a recent episode, and we got around 128 pounds, and we only skimmed through it. We're gonna go back in there. They should have grown by now. It's been 4 days with some nice weather, so a lot of those babies should be big enough to pick. Hopefully nobody else has found that in that time. With that in mind, should be a pretty good day. Let's get into another foraging adventure. Okay, we're heading out. We're with Alex and Alec.
Randy, let's do it.
If you missed the last episode when we were in this area, we have to walk across a creek, up a road a little ways, and then we cut off over an old forest firefighter's trail through a big muskeg bog. Now it's a straight shot, but it's pretty much a guaranteed wet foot. So that's the downside. We've got GPS, compass, drone. Everybody's got bear spray, water, safety gear. So if you ever try to do this, make sure you're going into the bush safely. Okay, there's the burn. Pretty fast walk. Not too bad. Okay, it's been 4 days, and all of these were too small to pick when we were here last time. So they have grown. They're not growing super fast. So these ones, you know, if it was warmer weather, they'd probably be double or triple the size. Some of them are definitely getting to be a nicer size. It's like, yeah, that's a nice sized mushroom. And the reality is, in this ground, these mushrooms have been growing for quite a while. Even these little ones, if you look at the gills, they're quite open. The size of the morel isn't the main indicator of whether it's mature or not. It's how open the gills are. And the gills on these mushrooms are starting to be fairly open, so these ones aren't going to get much bigger. Sometimes they just mature small. So we're going to walk our pack boards up to the next ridge and then drop them there and use that as sort of a nice central point. That way, on the way back, we can pick these mushrooms and we're not carrying that extra weight the whole day. So now from here, we're gonna pick out that way and back that way with the buckets. This is kind of like our anchor point for this part of the day. With 2 buckets and extenders, you get about 3 baskets worth in those 2 buckets with the extender here. So that's a pretty good range. We can walk from the pack boards before we need to come back. So for anybody seeing our channel for the first time on this video, we are in absolute wilderness zone in the Yukon. There's only one local for about 200 kilometers in either direction, 150 kilometers. And she's the lovely lady at the Moose Creek Lodge. There isn't a house, there's only one road and it's the main highway. And you could go that way for a couple 100 kilometers before you'd hit another road. Look at these 2 beauties. So that's about as long as we leave our stems maximum. And these morels are still nice. No insect damage. They're good condition. And this cottonwood tree fluff, that will come off in the dryer for the most part. So you can see I picked here the last time. Here's my stems, and these were babies. There's a good sized one. See? No insect contamination at all. So here's my old stems. Still new babies, and then some of the ones we left have become big enough to pick. What's very interesting is over there they're very dark. They're right next to each other, and look at the color difference. Shape-shifting mushrooms. Needle zone, this is what we're excited to see, and they have grown a little bit, so this is exciting. So many more mushrooms in this higher quality through here. So they're not as big as I'd like, but they're big enough to pick, and they're premium quality. And there's thousands of mushrooms. Still leaving lots of babies behind. See that one I'm leaving? Look at this. Check this out. Not bad. And the quality is excellent here. So here's my old stems where I left these ones before. I didn't do a great job of showing this last year, but we're always leaving lots of mushrooms. It's just not as exciting to see them. Look at that. Perfect condition babies. And I'm gonna leave all of those in a nice line. We'll be able to pick here again. There's also like another 30 up there, probably another 15 here. Nice little pop.
Just going up there and down there. They're kind of small, but they're mature, unfortunately. Looks like, well, hello. All hiding under that log there in the shade.
In forest fire, as well as natural morel picking, the mushrooms can get insect damaged, and a lot of the time that's a small worm. This isn't just a problem with wild morels, it's a problem with all food. Even on commercial farms, this can be a problem. So our way of dealing with that is twofold. One, we try not to pick them. And the way to tell is when you pick the mushroom. So I'll pick it, I'll look at the stem. This morel does have worm damage. I thought it did from a distance because you do get in tune with how they look. The mushroom will grow differently when they have worm damage. And so you can see the little holes in the stem here. Not creases between the walls. It's actually like little holes. And I bet you we'll find a worm if we cut into this one. Yes, right there. There's a worm. Our approach is to just check every mushroom and not pick them. You know, we're as careful as we can possibly be. Ideally, you just don't pick them at all. Let's check this mushroom. This one has no worms. Right next to that one, perfectly fine. These ones look good too. Yep, that one's fine. And I think this one's fine. So that one is also fine. So every mushroom you gotta check, but you get into zones where it's a real problem and then you gotta be extra thorough. So we just try not to pick them. And if you ever see somebody trying to sell protein-enriched morels, Wow, look at all these. They're everywhere. Oh my God. There's so many. Woohoo! Look, they go right up the hill like this. Cascading Morchella. Just gonna thin through this and leave the rest to grow. Here's another mistake I just made. I accidentally plucked this morel. What are those? 2 babies. So, with other mushrooms, like pine mushroom, buttons, and other species, some of them we do pluck. But as you can see there, I lost mushrooms by plucking. Okay, so these ones, they don't have worms. There's no worm contamination. What's happened with these is they had a lot of wind and it dried out the tops, and then they got rained on and it sort of rehydrated them, and then they dried out again. We call that a witchy cap. And so you listen. But it's not dried nicely. It's really not good. So see, no worms. Clean inside. Just the tops are no good. So I'm gonna leave them. Might produce a few spores there, but very unlikely to, because they've dried out so much. The spore tubes have sealed naturally. Another pink morel. Perfect. Good ones. So here's an example of some we left, and unfortunately, just to show you this, what we're talking about, this did not grow any bigger. This is a blown out mushroom. It's no good to pick, and it didn't get any bigger than that. So that's just, you know, size of my thumb. The maturity is more based on the gill size, and these mushrooms matured small. Okay, we've come back for lunch. Pretty decent start to the day. What I've just found, these are 3 Morchella tomentosa grays. First day we've seen them this season, so now we've found 6 today, and they are a late stage fire morel. They're a very prized mushroom, and they're a lot more resilient to worms. If you watched our last season, there was no worms. It's like 1 or 2 mushrooms all season that had worms, but this year it's early and we're already seeing them, so it's a bigger concern. Seeing those, very glad to see those. So right here is an indicator that this burn wasn't super late in the season. This is a willow that's trying to regrow. Up to this point, you see how it's more red, and then here it's more green. These are the bud scale scars right here. This was growth from last summer after it burned, and here's this year's growth. That much growth after it burned tells me that this fire probably burned in June or July. Not in August or September. This one here has some white mold. So we're gonna get rid of that. It'll spread to other mushrooms. So there's a tiny bit there, gone. A little bit there, gone. The rest of this mushroom, there's no need to let that go to waste. It's in great shape. Look at these. Oh, these are really nice. The big one. That's the nicest mushroom I've picked today. Almost every mushroom is a good size, and they're all great quality. You can just go at it. Now look at this pink morel. It is perfect. Now it is a morel in the black clade. Morchella alata is the clade. But sometimes they accent themselves with this pink color. It's a lot less common than turning black or slightly green. It's a nice one. Beauty. So we were just down the hill, filling another couple baskets each, and amazingly I had enough service to receive a call from Randy. And service in the middle of the Yukon is quite rare. I think it's because they're working on the road, so they've got a temporary service tower. He called me and let me know that he's injured himself, so he's cut his thumb real bad, and we need to get out of here and go make sure he's okay. He says he's okay, but you know, when you have blood loss, it's better to be safe than sorry. So we got to get these mushrooms out of the bush and drive back to camp and check on him. We are well over a kilometer into the bush, with a steep hill and muskeg swamp between us and the only road that can take us back to camp. An injury while working in the wilderness has to be taken seriously, so we'll load up our pack frames and hike out of the fire to go assess how badly Randy has cut himself. So we've actually had a pretty good day. Got about 4.5 on this one, 5 on that one, and a solid 4 on that one, plus some extra gear. Very full baskets. Smaller mushrooms, and they're a little bit dry, so we should get a good dry ratio on these, and that's what matters for us. So it's really the dry weight that counts. Now we got to boot these out of the bush, back down this big hill and through a bog.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty heavy one.
Yeah, they're full baskets.
For only 4. Down in a bad way.
Hey.
Here. Oh shit.
You alright?
Somehow it like went under my strap. I didn't notice.
Oh!
And it was down here, and when it released it was like...
These spruce trees, when they're young, the snow bends them over and they become like this fire hardened whip covered in these hardened spikes. It's not too far of a walk, but it's still hard work. We're trying to get out of here as quickly as we can, but the worst thing we could do is hurt ourselves as well. So we're just trying to make a nice, safe, steady pace out of the bush. And then we'll see how Randy is. Okay. Gotta get out of here. Alright, we're almost back to camp. Had words with Randy. I think that he should go to the hospital in Dawson, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from camp. So we'll be back in camp within a few minutes, and we can take a look at him and see how he's doing. There he is. He's walking. Not good?
Not good. I finished the bench. There was 4 more little things to carve on the front, and I turned around to look back at where the bench was going to go. The knife slipped, and it took off like from there to there. That whole thing like that. It's like that deep, gone, and blood's just going everywhere. So then I put a bunch of the yarrow in a paper towel and made a bed of it. And put it on there and folded it over, and then it stopped the bleeding. It was going everywhere.
Blood all over.
You can't see it so much now, but there's...
No, I see it. Blood all over the place. What did the nurse hotline say?
That I need attention because it's an open wound.
Right. Well, here, I'll give you some good news. We did get 13.5 baskets.
Nice. Put up the dryer.
Yeah, we'll deal with all that. Alex is going to take Randy to Dawson. It's better that Randy doesn't drive with his injury, of course. Meanwhile, Alec and I are going to dry some mushrooms. So you'll see Alex's perspective in Dawson City at the hospital.
Have some dinner for you when you get home.
Good pick, eh? Thumbs up.
Okay, we're going to weigh up today's mushrooms. They're really nice ones. Basket number 1 is 12.28 pounds. Total of 156.99, so 157. Good dry ratio on those now. I've been asked a few times how many mushrooms are in a basket. So the mushrooms are a good size right now. We're sort of in between. There's some small, there's some medium, there's some large. So it's kind of a midpoint. So we're gonna count them in this basket. We had 13.5 baskets total. So let's see how many mushrooms are in this basket here. Alec guessed 328. Now these are kind of small. Once I was getting in there, they're kind of small, but some of them are medium sized. So when the mushrooms are big, it wouldn't be as many. 757 mushrooms in one basket. We got 13 of them. So what is that? But let's do it. 757 times 13.5. We picked 10,000 morels today. 3 guys. A lot of bending over.
That's a neat way to look at it, man.
Yeah, for sure. When they're big, it's closer to like 300 or 400 a basket. Even when they're massive, it's even like 280 to 300 because I've counted them when they're really big. But this is, you know, medium size, small, medium, and it's 757 mushrooms in that basket. We're gonna dry these, and I think today we're gonna try something new. No, we're gonna select out the nicest 10 or 20 mushrooms and dry those separated so that we have the top of the top as their own batch. For this pick of the day, there's only 2 of us here because Randy and Alex are going to the hospital, so we're just going to do 10 mushrooms each. And my first one is going to be that. That's a beauty. I want that one too. I picked this one earlier. I think I showed it on camera. It's a nice pink morel. And that's also a beauty. 2 pink morels.
This one's got bordered in the black, but then this one's still all tender and
yeah, very colorful harvest today. Look at all the different colors. Now this It's a little fragile, which is unfortunate, but it is a fused morel. And look how it's fused. That's very rare to fuse like this, where the two stems are actually individual, but the caps are totally fused. So I'm gonna choose that one. That's gonna count as one though. And that one's pretty perfect. We're gonna go with that one. Here's our pick of the day. So we'll go into the dryer like that. And we'll fill up around it. It does take up a little more dryer space, but those are some nice mushrooms. So we're also gonna clean yesterday's mushrooms. So they're finished flashing. These are finished drying. Listen to these. Done. And so to clean these, what we do is we just crank this dryer and they'll bounce around in there and get rid of all the debris. You can see here, there's some debris, tiny little stuff, because, you know, we miss some when we're picking. We do our best, but being honest with you, we can't get it all. And this gets a lot of the stuff we miss. And now those mushrooms will start tumbling around inside and cleaning themselves. I'm also gonna weigh up yesterday's dried mushrooms. Now we didn't take a fresh weight because it just wasn't enough mushrooms to be worth the time. We're still gonna weigh them up dried, see what we got. If you don't already know, they rehydrate incredibly well in water. That's why we do this. 4.47 pounds of dried.
Just arrived at Dawson City. It's 9 o'clock and Randy's heading inside. Have fun, eh?
Yeah.
Still waiting for Randy to get all patched up outside the hospital. It is 10 to 11, 10:50. And it is still light out. I decided to go to a pizza place called the Pan of Gold in Dawson City. We shall see how it looks. Ooh, it smells good. Should I eat it all before Randy gets back? It's pretty good.
Okay, so I turned both fans on. They're both cranked. Smells like Morels. It'll probably run for 4 or 5 hours with both fans on max on about $8 in fuel. Canadian. 8 Canadian. 5 or 6 US. 200 pounds in here max. Look at the suction we get on these doors. To start off the drying, I'm just gonna let the cold air run through those mushrooms, because with that airflow it'll be drier than the mushrooms are. So with the ducting taken off of the tubes. But pretty soon here I'll be putting that ducting back on and it'll be pulling air from the wood stove room, which will be dry, slightly warm air, not hot. But once they got to a certain stage and they've shrank down, we will move them all into the wood stove room and heat flash them above the wood stove on the finishing racks. So I hope Randy's doing okay. This lifestyle, wild harvesting in wilderness areas, has its pros and cons. Some of the pros, we get to live in these beautiful natural environments and work alongside nature. But the bad side can be that, you know, we don't have any workers' comp. We're our own people out here, so cutting your thumb, you don't get any compensation for that. You know, that's a mistake that you've made and you have to live with. Anyways, I'm aware I look like a coal miner right now, so I'm gonna go deal with that. Am I any cleaner? Still dirty? Well, I don't know if that's gonna get me any cleaner. Look at that. Still dirty. We do what we can out here. It's not easy. Can you guess what time it is? Look at that sundog. It'll be light out for another 5 hours or so. and it's already 9:15 p.m. So I'm probably gonna stay up until those guys get back from Dawson, so I might be up until midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. So I'll get another shot at that time if I remember. And I'll show you how light out it is at midnight in the land of the midnight sun. So here's what Randy was working on when he cut his hand. And just like getting hurt at work, at the end of the day on a Friday, he was finishing the very last piece of wood on this beautiful willow and driftwood bench, wrapped with willow bark and aspen bark, weaved. And it's a beautiful thing he's made, but that wound happened on the last stick. Look how many sticks there are. Sure, he'd appreciate me trying it. Maybe even use it as a bit of a day bed. No time for slacking. Let's check out these mushrooms. Okay, so they've been in here for about 15 minutes, and let's just see if there's any change. Yeah, they're all completely dry to the touch now. Before, there was moisture when you touched them. So if you add too much heat too early, you'll reduce the integrity of the mushrooms because you're starting to break down the cell walls while there's still water in them, and you have like steam cooking issues if you use too much heat. And you also can increase sporing onto the mushrooms, which you don't want. Cool to warm, dry air till the spore tubes are sealed, and then slowly add more and more heat. Now tonight, we're gonna hang out, stay up late, wait for those guys, and we're gonna cook some beef burgers with morel mushrooms that Randy harvested. Oh, that smell, it's amazing. 2 for us, and 2 for Alex and Randy. There's the cooked morels to go on top. We're a little short on supplies, but we've just got pickles and kale and condiments. We're out of cheese. After a long day of work, I just feel my body instantly absorbing all those nutrients. Got to recover those calories somehow.
Okay, so we're on the way back to camp from Dawson City. It is 11:45, and Randy said to stop and check out this. That is the midnight sun setting on the Tintina Trench. Look at that country.
It's 12:15 a.m. and we're still more than 2 weeks from the longest day of the year. So Randy and Alex are almost back from Dawson. Since I'm here today and I have the camera, I can show you how quickly the mushrooms are drying. They've been in the dryer for 3 hours. They have shrank way down, and the ones, look, they're firm, are already past 50% dried in 3 hours. Just laying down in the middle of the Klondike Highway, little after 1 in the morning. Car hasn't gone by in 2 or 3 hours. Next car will be Randy and Alex. You okay? Yeah, all good?
They had to cauterize the whole thing. She used 2 bottles of freezing. And she had to do the electronic deep cauterization on the vessel, blood vessels.
You're not gonna lose any function of the thumb?
No.
But no tendon damage or anything like that?
She said they're probably gonna have a flat spot there. Close, because it went this way and it never hit here. It could have hit right there and went. Then I had adrenaline when I was there and it started shaking. I cut 4 arteries right off.
Okay everyone, the day is done. It's almost 2 in the morning. I am gonna hit the hay. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's adventure with that little bit of extra excitement, then consider liking and subscribing. And if you're a returning viewer, then thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much when you all comment, so please drop a comment below if you don't mind. And to everybody who always comments, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Helps the channel a lot. See you next time, everybody.